So I would really say it started about 10 years ago when Pinterest came on the scene in a very big way. Because before that, people, I would say, couldn't imagine what they had access to and what this really could be. And that was the breeding ground for starting to realize that there were some really fun ideas, and that could expand past the house, past your home, past where you grew up, and could also translate into the dorm room.
And what role did TikTok and Instagram play in this trend spreading?
Oh, it just magnified it. I mean, that became another vehicle for just, I would say, viral levels of content to go out there. And there's somebody on the other end of that screen thinking like, "Oh my gosh, that looks amazing. Could I do that?" Right? And then sometimes parents are seeing this, or their kids are showing them this and say, "Hey, is this possible? Can we do it?"
All right, so walk me through this. What types of improvements are you making to these otherwise unspectacular dorm rooms? How much can it cost?
Well, that's a loaded question. Okay, so I mean, anywhere from ten to $50,000 plus. Easy. Now, that is not to say that you have to invest that much, but the reality is that there are people who are investing that much money in their kids' spaces. 100% it's happening. And so that can be furniture that's not cheap and fast furniture made out of plastic. It could be things that are better quality, designer-ish lighting, dare I say, textiles, fabrics, paint, a cool mural on the wall or ceiling. I mean, the sky's the limit.
Wow, again, my head exploded. Now, primarily, you're doing this in the Dallas area where schools, in some cases, are north of 80 grand a year. I know this is really spread in the South. What comes with a $50,000 dorm room design?
Art. So art is not just for enthusiasts, right? So we know through studies of the brain now that art really impacts us and affects us, and we're starting to see the younger generation really gravitate towards that. So why not? And it could be art that's special, that's meaningful, from a family member painted it, or maybe there's a local artist that you're following on Instagram and you're obsessing over. And so art is part of that, like an incredible. Comfortable furnishing. So think about the desk chair. Not only does it not have to be ugly, it can absolutely be beautiful. It could have a curvy back and it could have a really cushioned seat so that if you're going to spend hours just, nose to the grindstone studying, you've got a beautiful, comfortable chair to sit in. Bedding, pillows, lighting, accessories, shelves that, again, no plastic, cheap, janky things, but things that are better quality.
Now, you are in Texas, as I mentioned. Is this a regional trend in the South and Southeast?
No, I would say we are seeing this nationally, not globally, right now at every level. Okay, there's definitely a place for the DIY and the girl who's creative, or she's roping her mom and her girlfriends, and they're having a paint party when they move in, and they're just making the most of it, ordering pizza and just going crazy with their imagination. And then some people don't have the creativity, the bandwidth, or the time, and they want to partner with a professional.
All right, I'm seeing a lot of these neon signs right now. What are kids looking for right now? What's in style?
So, what's in style, especially for the younger generation, is what's deeply meaningful to them, what's personal. We all want a personal experience, and that applies to this segment of young adults. And so they want an experience. They don't want something that feels like plug and play, right? Just like something just came out of a catalog and everything is matchy matchy. They want something that feels a little bit more spoke and be curated, and also feels very kind of personal to them. And so it's leaning into colors that they love, and patterns that are interesting to them, and moving away from what is just simply trendy to what actually like moves me. Because if you spend a little time digging into that, you're going to discover that, you know what, I don't like hot pink. I don't like fuchsia. I really love moody blues and dark greens, right? And so that's the whole sense of what these kids are trying to create for themselves, is something that feels personal and authentic to who they are.
You mentioned the price range, $10,000 to $50,000. Are there ways students can do this on the cheap? Are there websites that they might find helpful?
Absolutely. DIY, dorm room ideas. Pinterest is going to have a ton of them. And one of my favorite ways I love to tell people if they're going to do something on their own or with their friends and really try to make an impact in the space is paint. I mean, you could do a paint line halfway up the wall with a little scallop detail, right? And that is not hard to create. You could buy a little pattern off of Etsy for, $10 and create that. And again, it's unique because you don't see the paint go all the way up the wall, but maybe halfway. And just that breaking point of the color and the paint adds something very special. Or what if you took paint and you did a stripe on the ceiling? I mean, talk about whimsical and fun and just walking in and just immediate, like boom, there's a lot of impact. That is very, very affordable.
All right, now, as a parent, and as a former college student, isn't part of the college experience dealing with that gritty dorm room and the gritty apartment as well? Is there any part of you that thinks maybe this is unhealthy? Maybe our kids should suffer a little bit?
No, okay, look, I've got 5 kids. I'm all about my kids suffering, okay? That's why they'll go out there and rake 5 bags of leaves, in the fall per day. I don't want my kids or to see kids suffer in their spaces because we now know through a lot of neuroscience and specifically neuroaesthetics, this emerging study, that our environments wildly impact how we live, how we feel, our mental health. So there's a new study that just came out from the Annual Health and Mind study, and it's 44% of kids reported struggling with depression, and 37% reported that they have anxiety disorders. And that's 96,000 students at 133 colleges, campuses. And that is insane. So what we now know is that we can use our environments as a vehicle for wellness and support and beauty. And, you're going to walk into a space and you're either going to release cortisol or dopamine. And that doesn't just have to apply to mom and dad's home. It can be the space that you're living in for 9 months or for however long. And so I would, before I understood that, I might agree with you a little bit, but now we know that these kids are struggling and we can support them through their environments. And so I think the narrative is really shifting.
I do want my daughter to struggle a little bit. I just moved her into the University of Chicago. I've showed you the dorm room. Do you have any tips? What might help spruce up her room? We just did Amazon and a few Target purchases, maybe a few at Etsy. So what should she do in particular? You look up and the ceiling is cement. What do we do?
Yeah, so I did see those pictures and I was like, oh my gosh, let's get that girl some paint up there. And so simple paint or, I'm sure she's got some friends who are artistic. If she's not, like, what if she did a cool mural on that ceiling and painted it, right? Or I even had this idea when I was thinking through it, Dave, of doing like a cool canopy, like taking some scrim fabric, which you can get at any fabric store for on the cheap, and you hang it like across the ceiling and it creates this sort of fabric canopy that hides this really sort of offensive, for lack of better words, concrete ceiling. And you're laying down at night and you're looking up, and I mean, it almost feels like a prison cell. And again, this is really affordable to do. And the scrim fabric is breathable, so if there's AC vents, which I would not imagine with a concrete ceiling, but still, it's an approachable way to do something that feels really meaningful and special in the space.
Okay.
And forgive a multitude of sins that are happening.
I'm inspired. You're bringing me along. Over your right shoulder is a piece of art. It's almost as big as the jug at which you drink water out of. Show me that jug, because I'm almost through my gallon of coffee here from Starbucks. That is absurd. A gallon of water a day.
Gallon of water a day.
Absolutely love it. Ginger Curtis is the founder and CEO of Urbanology Designs. Really appreciate the time. Thanks so much.
Absolutely.